Hey everyone, today we're diving into a real puzzle, the Finnish education system. It's held up all over the world as this shining example of excellence, right? But it looks almost nothing like the high-pressure, competitive systems most of us are used to. So, how did a nation with a really tough past build one of the most successful and, frankly, surprising school systems on the planet? Let's figure it out. Just take a second and let that sink in. No fighting to get into the best school, no endless league tables, no soul-crushing exams for kids. I mean, for a lot of us, that sounds like a complete fantasy. It's a system that seems to just toss out all the rules we think are necessary for success. And that right there, that's the big mystery we are unpacking. What is the secret sauce? Well, the answer isn't in some modern fancy policy paper. Nope. It was actually forged in the fire of a really deep and painful national history. To really get the solution that Finland came up with, we first have to understand the problem they were trying to solve. And that problem was a society that was completely fractured, with a school system that was just making everything worse. So picture this. Right after getting its independence, Finland basically tears itself apart in this brutal civil war, the Reds versus the Whites. It left this deep, collective trauma, a wound on the whole nation. And for decades after, the school system didn't do anything to heal that wound. In fact, it just kept picking at it. The old system was basically a brutal sorting machine. Imagine being 10 or 11 years old and your entire future hangs on one single exam. If you passed, you got the golden ticket. You went to an academic school called the Apikoulu, and you were on the path to university. But if you failed, you were shunted off to a civic school, a vocational track that pretty much sealed your fate. Your potential was just capped. And you can really feel the human cost of this in what this one Finnish father remembers. For him, it wasn't just a policy. It was a system built on fear, and the idea that your destiny was fixed. It told kids from poor villages, hey, your place in the world, it's already decided. But then he says this incredible thing. He says they lost fear. So what on earth changed? Okay, so this is the big turning point. By the 1960s, a new idea started taking hold across Finland. The country was industrializing, and its leaders realized, hey, we're a small nation. We literally cannot afford to waste the potential of a single child. The old system wasn't just unfair, it was becoming economic suicide. So they decided to make a radical bet, a bet on equity. And it all comes down to this one year, 1968. That's when the Finnish parliament passes the Basic Education Act. And this wasn't just a reform, it was a revolution, designed to tear down that old, fearful system and build something totally new. They called it the comprehensive school, or peruskalu. And this whole reform was built on a brand new philosophy. That terrifying exam at age 11? Poof, gone. School fees? Wiped out. From that point on, every single kid in Finland, whether they were the child of a CEO or the child of a farmer, would sit in the same classroom, learning the same stuff until they were 16. The whole thing served one powerful idea. Raise the floor, not the ceiling. The goal wasn't to create a handful of superstars, it was to make sure every single kid got a truly excellent education. But you know, making school equitable is about more than just what you learn in the classroom. It meant realizing that a kid can't learn if they're hungry, or if their parents can't afford books, or if they have no way to get to school. And this is where this idea of welfare supports became absolutely crucial. And here's a perfect example of what that looks like in real life. A Finnish mother, Sini, talks about the free, hot, nutritious lunch her daughter gets every single day. Yesterday, it was salmon soup. And you can add free textbooks and free transportation to that list. These aren't just nice little perks. It's the law. They're practical tools to make sure that poverty never ever gets in the way of learning. So Finland builds this incredible new structure for its schools. But that was only the first revolution. The second one, and honestly, maybe the more important one, was a lot quieter. It was about building the soul of the system. It was all about trust. The Finns made two absolutely brilliant moves here. First, back in 1979, they decided that every single teacher from first grade on up had to have a master's degree. Teacher training programs became super selective, which turned teaching from just a job into a highly respected profession of experts. And then, and this is the radical part, once they'd created this class of experts, they decided to actually trust them. They got rid of the whole national school inspection system. Just gone. So what does that trust, that autonomy, really mean for a teacher?
It means they are treated like professionals. They're free to design their own lessons and figure out the best way to teach their students, all while aiming for broad national goals. There are no school rankings creating toxic competition and no high-stakes standardized tests breathing down their necks. They are simply trusted to do their job and do it well.
In the end, trust isn't just some nice, fuzzy feeling in Finland. It is the invisible force holding the entire thing together. You could say it's the fundamental operating system for the whole enterprise. So this whole journey, from a system of fear to a system of trust, it's a remarkable story. But is it a perfect system, a utopia? Well, let's take a look at how things are today, because no system, no matter how great it is ever without its challenges. That same parent, Sydney, gives us this absolutely beautiful metaphor, the long wooden table. It stands for everything the system is about: community, fairness, a shared experience. Everybody gets a seat, everybody gets the same meal. It's just a really powerful image of a national commitment. But as she also points out, even the strongest wood can start to show some cracks. The world is changing, and new pressures are starting to test Finland's core beliefs. That quiet confidence that defined a whole generation of parents, it's now mixed with some new, very modern anxieties. And this gets us right to the heart of the dilemmas facing Finland today. For example, does their focus on a low-stress, equitable environment accidentally create complacency? Can that deep foundational trust in teachers survive new worries about things like screen time and digital distraction? And maybe the biggest question, is protecting a slow childhood actually preparing kids for a super competitive, fast-paced global world? These are the really tough questions Finns are asking themselves right now. And this is really the core question for Finland's future. This system was built from the painful memory of division and the huge ambition of a small nation. That wooden table of equity and trust, it's still standing strong. But it exists in a world that just keeps speeding up, and the biggest test of all will be whether its quiet, trust-based principles can adapt and survive. It's a puzzle the rest of the world is definitely watching very, very closely. Thanks for digging into this one with me.